Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today we're going over the top 4 round of the Hyogo Japan Championships in OP08. We saw the top 16 match, the top 8 match, this being the meta share of the top 8. We're going to go ahead and see the meta share for the top 4, what has advanced. We know one of them, but looking at the others, one deck of law, that is intense. All right, so 10 laws coming into the top 16. Only one remains in the top 4. That is this first line right here. 1 Rob Lucci, the OP07 Rob Lucci, and 2 Enels. So both Enels that were in the top 8 advancing into the top 4. Very exciting. Did not expect, in my honest opinion, to see Enel be the most populous deck of the top 4 in this tournament series. So awesome stuff going on. You already know the matchup because you saw the title and thumbnail. I actually, at the time of this recording, don't know it yet. It looks like they are going to be showing Enel in this, as well as red purple law. So this is a matchup we haven't seen yet in OP08 for the championship series. No, actually we have seen one. I think we've seen Enel a couple times, but with the top 4, it'll be exciting to see this one. But before we get into it, a couple quick things. One, this is not my content. I am watching the official live stream, so link to that if you do want to watch this yourself, not hear me yap, will be in the description below. But also, if you did not know, you didn't see in the community section of our Discord or anything, I am going to be commentating as part of the Las Vegas Store Regional happening on Saturday. What is that day? July 6th. So Saturday, July 6th, if you've got some time, tune in over on Twitch. It's going to be live on People's Card Shop at Twitch, twitch.tv/People's Card Shop. Link will be again in the description below if you want to go check that out. It's going to be me and a couple other different guys from our locals commentating. I'm part of the production too, so a lot of the graphics and overlay stuff that you're going to see is made by me. I'm putting a ton of work into this, which is why videos haven't been populous lately. I'm not only moving into a new house, but also trying to prepare for this regional, for the stream. It will be live on Twitch and then afterwards be uploaded on my YouTube channel without, like, you know, the extra fluff of the tournament, like between rounds, just really the games and interviews and stuff like that that we do. So go check them out if you haven't already. Make sure to go follow them right now before you forget. And I believe the tournament starts at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so we will go live before that. So if you're around 11 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday, July 6th, please go support us at the regional. But going into this, is this the same person that we saw earlier? This is the same person that we saw last round, I believe, with this Enel. So we've got a little bit of an idea of what this list looks like. I've seen a couple of the different things that they've done. The law, though, I don't think we've seen this player yet. So this is going to be a completely new law, potentially, of some different text. We don't know what this list looks like. We don't know the different options. Obviously, we know the skeleton of Trafalgar law, but there could be some new things that appear in this deck. So one thing that we also saw in terms of the Enel that has been very prevalent is the 7-drop Enel character, that one that has Rush. Curious to see if it is going to be impactful in this game as well. We do know that this Enel player is running at least one of those Enels, so we're going to see, especially because that is an effect that when it leaves the field of play, you can use the save effect, so the bottom decking won't necessarily work a lot of the times. In terms of the Trafalgar Law's hand, not a bad hand right here. You have a couple rush characters in the Zorro and Kid Killer. You've got the excellent combo of Charlotte Pudding and Sachi Penguin. We've seen that time and time again. And another good blocker in the Sanji, the 6 cost blocker, 6k body. So Pretty good hand, I feel like, for this Law player. Could be tricky, though, without the draw, no Reijus or anything like that. The Enel player having an interesting hand. We see that 7 rush Enel that we were just talking about. A 9 cost Yamato, so another big body that they can play down in consecutive turns. You've got the Beige in there. Beige we know is a 4 of. The Flampe, very, very good, especially for the early game. And then also the Onami there. The Onami could be nice for that banish. Now, the red purple Law is going first in this one, so they're going to be starting out with 1 Dawn. We'll see exactly where they go, and it's going to be a pass off of this. No 1 Dawn Gordons or Raise Maxes to play. Now into the Enel's turn. The Enel is going to be able to play that Flampe if they want, but they're just going to say pass, opting not to do the move quite just yet with the Flampe. So 3 Dawn now for the Law, drawing another Pudding. You could see the Pudding Sachi Penguin combo go down, but they're just going to take a life right here, going to swing 8 and pass. No trigger off in this one. It looks like, I think another Yamato was gone. It's a little bit hard to tell with the alternates, but getting an Onami top deck. It was a Katakuri actually off of life. 8-drop Katakuri. So a plentiful hand for this Enel. Could see the Flampe in this turn now that you're at 4 Dawn. Don't necessarily have too much of a play, but going to be playing a Frankie. Okay, Frankie is interesting right now in this one. Frankie, being a 5,000 power character, is something that we may see, if it doesn't get bottom deck this turn, go back in life eventually off of this Katakuri. So that might be the strategy that they're trying to run with right now. With a Law, they don't have a Law in hand, can't maximize on that, but getting the Queen off of the top deck is very nice. Having draw is going to be very good. And so starting off with a 5k swing, going to take that no trigger right there, that 5-drop Luffy, and now going to play that Queen. The Queen is going to draw 2 and trash 2, and maybe eventually we'll see a leader effect. Getting a Gordon and a Sanji, so a little bit tough of a hand right here. I think maybe potentially pitching the Zoro off here, or maybe one of these Puddings. You've got 1 Pudding in hand, so you could just pitch 1 and just keep 1. Usually you only need 1 in a game, or if you wanted to do the Zoro, but I don't hate this Pudding play of pitching that right there as they pass the turn off. No leader effect either at this point. Going now, drawing a Beige, got a good amount of counter in hand, I feel like, at this point. But now it's 6 Dawn. It's a little tricky on what you want to do, and I think they've got 2 or less life, but the problem is with that Monkey Day Luffy character that they have in hand, that Queen is a 5 cost, so the Luffy is not going to be able to KO it. And so putting that Luffy down, going to be passing off the turn. We saw this play in the top 8 match against the Rob Lucci, where you preemptively play the Luffy and not use the effect. So we're going to see right here whether or not the Trafalgar Law bottom decks it. We know they have a Gordon in hand as they draw another Kid Killer. Could put that Luffy at the bottom of the deck. We do know that that could be a good play because, you know, if not anything that you play down, especially as a 4 cost, you know, Luffy KOs 4 costs or less characters. So that's a majority of your deck. So getting rid of that character could be very influential in this spot. If they do put down the Gordon as well, they will have 5 Dawn to work with in general at this stage of the game. Could play the Sachi Penguin, but just going to be swinging a good old 7 now. So the 7 is interesting. They've got 4 Dawn left. Could play the, if they play the Gordon, then they have 3. Might be playing the Zoro down in this turn. And so going to be taking that life, going to 1, going to play that Gordon, and like I mentioned, go ahead and bottom deck, going to power down that Luffy and get ready to bottom deck the Luffy as they go ahead and use leader effect. Going to be a 3 Dawn left, so has a couple different options of what they could do. You could play the Sanji right here. The Sanji, remember, when you're down 2 or more Dawn, it becomes a 3 cost, so it fulfills that Trafalgar Law requirement. And with the rest of the 3, going to play another Sanji. So actually a really interesting play right here. You put away a lot of counter with those 2Ks on the field, but especially with the 3 that you have, after you use leader effect, you can play down 2 Sanjis in a turn for effectively 3 Dawn. Very, very interesting strategy right now, I feel like, for this law, as they whittle down the Enel to just 1 life already. So now on the 8 Dawn turn, we could see the Katakuri put the Frankie in life. We know that Frankie is a really good card to have in life, especially if you put it on the bottom, because that Katakuri, remember that 8 cost Katakuri, does have the option of putting the Frankie at the top or bottom, whichever they prefer. Could be putting it at the top, so is going to be resting 8, putting the Sanji actually at the bottom, so getting rid of one of the blockers and going to have 5 life now and passing the turn. Still not swinging at all in this game. Very interesting strategy. I don't know if I would have been so passive in this game if I was playing it. So this Enel player really having a certain strategy. I mean, they're 9-0 in top 4. I bet they took down a ton of laws to get here. So obviously what they're doing is probably working. And so getting that 5-drop manga rare Eustace Captain Kid, that's a lot of money on their hand right now. Getting that card now back at 5 Dawn, could be playing that Eustace Captain Kid, because if you have 5 Dawn, you can play that character down and get 1 Dawn back when you use leader effect. You could potentially see like Asachi and Penguin come down. You don't have any minusing effects to bottom deck any of these characters, unfortunately, which I think is the huge downside at this point, but going to be going ahead and potentially resting 3, it looks like 3 and 2. Might be thinking about playing the Zoro or even the Pudding right now. That Sachi Penguin, remember, if you have 3 or less Dawn cards on the field, you add 2 back. So if they, after this 5k swing that is countered out, if they play this kid and then use leader effect, you would be able to get that boost off of the Sachi and Penguin. Does get a body on the field right here, so going to use that leader effect, not bottom deck anything, but play Sachi and Penguin, fulfill the Sachi and Penguin effect to get 2 Dawn, and then through the Eustace Captain Kid effect, get 1 extra Dawn on the field right here. Just gonna pass, not opting to swing anymore. You don't want a free cycle to hit the Enel, and getting, what is that card? Is that Thunderbird right there? I am unfamiliar with what this card actually is. 30 million volt Thunderbird. It's a 2 cost event on main. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost equal or less than their life. So with the Yamato giving a gain to the life on the Enel and KOing that Sanji right there, because there was 6 life between them and the opponent, really just trying to use that Thunderbird to get rid of some of these 5 costs, especially with the Eustace Captain Kid and the Queen. I mentioned earlier how they're difficult to KO because they're 5 costs. This card right here, this event that they have in hand, is an excellent option to be able to get rid of those pesky blockers when they build up the board on the field and just start swinging away with these gigantic bodies. So really an interesting chess match going on right here. This is a fascinating game to watch. Starting off with this 5k swing, going to counter out of it with this Onami. There's 2 Onamis in the bin, plenty of counters still in hand, 7 cards as well, but no 4-drop Trafalgar Law. Now at 7 Dawn, I believe, going to be resting 5 potentially for a Queen. I think they're thinking about the Queen right here, going to play that and probably draw cards. We know that drawing is so useful in the Trafalgar Law deck. Going to be drawing 2 and trashing 1. Let's see what they got. It looks like another Sanji and something else. I'm not sure. It looks like another Kid Killer. So 3 Kid Killers in hand. Going to be pitching potentially the Pudding right here. The Pudding I don't think you really need at this point, because you have that Eustace Captain Kid on the field, although as soon as that 30 million volt Thunderbird card comes in, you might want that back. So 3 Dawn left, probably playing the Zoro right here, I would imagine. Going to be swinging 5, and so this 5k swing could get you a card right here, could get a life as well. Thinking about just countering out with a 2k, trying to think about what the 3 cards would be. I feel like since they've pitched 2 puddings already, you're probably thinking about a Zoro coming in, so countering out of this would be nice, and going to just 2k out of that right there. And so with that Zoro that is coming down that I mentioned before, going to be interesting if they decide to swing with this Zoro. This Zoro would be an interesting 5k poke that could just be a card for this Enel player, but with big bodies on the board, especially these blockers, you got to be ready in a sense. But looking to just 2k out of this with the Bedge in hand. So that Bedge right there, or Bedge, I'm actually not sure. Let me know in the comments. Not that far in the anime. Going to be countered out right there, that 2k counter. And the top deck, not sure what the top deck is, but another Yamato in hand. So the Yamato could pop one of these blockers, especially that Eustace Captain Kidd is so pesky in this game plan. But thinking about 8, going to be resting 2, going to be playing that Thunderbird right there, going to be getting rid of that Kid, does the same exact thing. And with the rest of this 8, we could see a Gadatsu come down. Gadatsu is going to pop another Queen, so a huge turn right now for this Enel, getting rid of so many big 5 costs on the board. 3 Dawn left. Is there anything worth doing at this situation? Attaching 2 to the Frankie potentially and swinging 7 could be nice, but going to be attaching 1 to the Enel, swinging 6. It looks like it's going to be at that Sachi Penguin. Now really thinking about clearing board. A super demanding match, and look at that Law's hand. The Law has 3 Kid Killers and 1 Sachi, so starving now this red purple Law player. It looks like they're going to be able to get rid of at least one of these cards because this swing. Now, you know, with 2 Dawn left and them eyeing up a 7k swing with Frankie, what I would do is would I use the 2k counter on the Sachi Penguin? Because if they swing 7 with this Frankie at the Law, you're going to be able to not counter out of this, and you're going to lose 4 characters on this turn. Absolutely insane. Going to be swinging 7 here. Now, what I realize now after thinking about it a little bit more is if you counter out with the Sanji, they still have the Katakuri to swing with. They still have the Yamato to swing with. So I think no matter what, that those cards were actually going down. So I don't actually hate this play of not countering out, maybe just trying to build a hand, but a Zoro off that life. Oh my goodness, the Katakuri and Yamato getting these swings and these cards. It is going to be a Black Maria, which is going to be very nice because the Black Maria at least will give you 2k counter in hand now that you're at 9 Dawn, I believe, right now, and drawing into, what did you draw into right here? Going to have several Dawn to work with, getting a Raise Max, so the Raise Max would be able to bottom deck something like the Gadatsu if you wanted to, especially because you have 9 Dawn. You can play down 2 Kid Killers, right? You can play down a Raise Max, and then you can bottom deck the Gadatsu and then play off of leader effect a 3rd Kid Killer. So that would be able to at least get several different swings in. You don't even have to swing with them in a sense, but swinging 5 and getting this life right here is going to be no trigger. Swinging 7 now, it looks like, with the Queen. And so what they might be trying to do right now is go for game at this point, especially with all those Kid Killers in hand, is potentially eyeing up all those, because we do know that the Kid Killers on swinging will be at 7,000 power. So going with this 7k swing, going to be difficult with the counter. They do have a good amount of counter in hand, a couple different ones, and going to be giving them 2Ks right here. So I can't tell exactly what that card is that they just got off life and no trigger. It looks like it's a secret rare ace, so no counter in hand. We could actually see the win come in through this. And so looking at playing 3 for the 5, is going to swing 5, going to have to take it and use the effect. I don't know if I agree with this exactly. I feel like I would be swinging all these kid killers right now just in case of counter, but with the Katakuri, no counter in hand at all. Oh my goodness. So probably going to be eyeing up right now. Oh, is going to be doing a bottom decking? So is going to be using the Raise Max 2 minus the Gadatsu, is going to be bottom decking that Gadatsu, playing down a kid killer. That kid killer is going to be able to swing 7 now, and unless, I mean, I don't even know what you could do, especially with 4 Dawn left. You'd have to like proc a Sanji blocker, which we know are not really in Enel decks right now. And so getting that right there, another non-counter card. It looks like the kid killer, if they play down a kid killer and swing, is going to win the game right here. And this kid killer is going to come down. This kid killer is going to swing 7, and it is going to be the game. No counter cards in hand, and the red purple law wins. Wow. What an insane game right there. Absolutely crazy in my opinion. With the 3, I still think the 3 kid killers were probably good, but I think the reason that they didn't go the 3 kid killers route is because they wanted to swing 7 with the queen, really maximize the amount of swings, but then also use the Raise Max to bottom deck the Gadatsu to force them to have the 7 cost Enel character in hand to be able to push for game. And also with the 2Ks in hand, I think you were feeling a little bit secure with that play because they'd have to go for game instead of board, and then you'd be able to just wipe, especially if you had another kid killer in the hand for the next upcoming turn. So actually probably a better heads up play than I was thinking right there, and they ended up getting the win. Absolutely crazy. But let's look at a couple deck lists from this tournament. So I believe that this is the exact Enel list that the player had in the top 4 match. I really like the idea of this card. I've never thought about this card, but playing a couple copies of this in Enel seemed pretty alright with the red purple law matchup, or maybe a couple different pesky matchups, especially, you know, towards the later stages of the game, right, when you have some of these different plays like a 7 Dawn play or maybe a full 10 Dawn play, right? If you have a 7 Dawn play, you could play Gadatsu on one and Thunderbird the other, or on like a 10 Dawn play, you can Katakuri one thing and Thunderbird another. Kind of does well on the odd curve at times to be able to fulfill certain effects, you know, the Hyogo being able to do something like that as well. Just a really cool list overall. It is something that hasn't really had too many changes, I feel like, since its time in OP07, right? You're playing a bunch of these aces, your big bodies of Yamato, Katakuri. I like the Enels coming back into the deck. I feel like they were away for a little bit in 07, but then have started coming back and have been really, really good. The only consistent thing that I've seen from OP08 in these Enel decks is the Nami, this SR in there. We didn't get to see it in action in this game, but maybe if it's in the finals, we may see it then as well. But looking at the red purple law list, this is the exact red purple law list right here. This is honestly, we've seen this list before. We've seen this list several times. It's basically the skeleton of it, but whichever kind of spice you want to add in there. This one going for only 2 of the toy promo laws. I mentioned in previous tournaments that the toy promo law has been so good and is a strong card, but opting just instead for the 16 2Ks. The 4 of Black Maria, the 4 of Sanji, the 4 of Sachi and Penguin, and the 4 of Otama. Pretty crazy game. It worked out for him. We didn't even see the strength of Black Maria or putting 2 OP08 cards that really push this deck over the edge as the in my opinion, tier 0 deck of the format, and it'll be interesting to see if it makes its way through the finals. But that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, twitch.tv/peoplescardshop for Saturday, July 6th. The Las Vegas One Piece Store Regional is happening. I'll be on the commentary with some other locals in the production, and I hope you go check it out. Thank you.